Welcome back. As you saw earlier in the newscast, the premiers of Eastern Canada are heading to Boston to meet with their American counterparts. One of those leaders is our guest today. Janet Mills is governor of the state of Maine, and we've reached her at the State House in Augusta. Nice to see you, Governor. Thank you for your time.
Nice to see you, Todd.
We know how the tariffs are affecting those of us living on this side of the border in the Maritimes. Perhaps you can tell us how it's impacting Mainers.
Well, a tariff in this case is nothing more than a tax on American people. And the president is taking trillions of dollars in so-called tariffs that are really taxes and putting into the federal budget. So when people are waking up and understanding that this is a big tax heist, as the Wall Street Journal described it, but the taxes and tariffs in Maine alone are affecting our 176 craft breweries. They're affecting our lumber industry, pulp and paper industry, our seafood industry, all the things that we share economically with various provinces of Canada. Look, the potash, the fertilizer and grain that our farmers get from Canada, putting tariffs on that makes no sense whatsoever. Putting tariffs on lobster and seafood when these lobsters don't know if they're a Maine lobster or a Canadian lobster. They go back and forth to be processed, to come back, to be sold, to be retailed and sold in restaurants on both sides of the border. It's really unfair and irrational. The Congress of the United States has the ability, the legal ability and the power to take back these actions, take the authority back from the president, because the United States Constitution gives exclusive authority over taxes and tariffs to the Congress, not to the president. So I'm urging our congressional delegations in the Northeast and elsewhere to take back their power, stop harming our deep-seated relationship with Canada, for crying out loud. My own ancestors come from Pugwash, Nova Scotia. The Millses came and settled in Stonington, Maine, 120-something years ago, 180 years ago. And other communities, cross-border communities in Maine are really feeling hurt. Both sides of the border, from Calais and St. Stephen to Holton and Fredericton and Madawaska and Edmundston. These families are deeply intertwined. The cuisine we have in Maine, our language, our cultural heritage is deep and historic. We hate to see that undermined.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. Beyond the finances, which obviously get all the headlines, this is a region, New Brunswick and Maine, where there's so much more connecting than simply economics. And you touched on it there. Families in Madawaska, at Campobello, Eastport. What are you hearing from folks in terms of the effect that it's having on them in that respect, culturally, personally?
It was very, very damaging. And I've been talking with small businesses up and down the coast and in interior Maine, and who've always had friends and family come from Canada to visit in the summer. And now they're canceling reservations. And I hate to see that happen. Look, I understand their feelings are hurt. My feelings are hurt too. And the people who have these deep-seated relationships with Canada are all hurt by this. We share that feeling. We share that feeling of dishonor that the harmful rhetoric, the hostile rhetoric in D.C. has imposed on people. But we want to make sure that we still have a good relationship with Canada, the state of Maine and the New England and Northeastern states. We value that highly, not just because our economies are intertwined, but because our families, cultures, cuisine, languages are all intertwined, especially in Maine, with this 611-mile border between Maine and New Brunswick and Quebec, and the Atlantic provinces and all that we share there. Look, we have the Dalhousie University still has a unique relationship in studying with Maine Law School in maritime sciences and maritime law. Things of that sort are not repairable if they fall down. So, you know, we're developing signs. I've put signs at all 13 border crossings between Maine and Canada that say things like this, and we're putting them in all our shops and motels and hotels. Bienvenue Canadien, welcome Canadians, to make sure that they know we share their hurt and we want them to feel free to come back and forth to Maine. I'm going to take a road trip into Canada myself in a short time, a little while, and make sure that people know that I want Maine people to feel welcome in Canada as well.
Well, we look forward to seeing you when you come up here. So you're heading to Boston. You'll be meeting with your counterparts and
Yes.
Canadian premiers as well. What do you plan to say in those meetings? What point do you want to make?
I want to make the same points I've just made, but more directly to the various premiers, many of whom I've met or spoken with by Zoom, and to reinforce our relationship, to reinforce, see if there are any creative ideas about how we can maintain our economic stability and relationships with Canadian provinces, whether it's pharmaceuticals, lumber supplies, seafood, farming supplies, all those things that we share and want to continue to be trading, and how we can keep also pressuring the congressional delegations in the Northeast to take back their power.
Okay.
Tariffs are unfair and irrational.
Yeah, that was my next point. The premiers seem to be hoping that you and your counterparts will be able to lobby the White House for some kind of resolution. We know President Trump tends to keep his own counsel. Can group pressure be effective?
We want to try that. Others are trying that too. And we want to make sure that they know the economic impact on American families. Again, this is a tax, simply a tax on American families, money that's going right directly into the federal budget. We're not getting anything in return. And that's the economic message to Washington, D.C. right now, an economic message that's shared with the Wall Street Journal and many others. And maybe when his advisors wake up to that fact, they'll start making changes. And the congressional delegations will make that change too. I'm hoping.
Yeah, we're all hoping. Governor Mills of the Pugwash Mills, appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thank you, Thank you very much. And we'll see you when you're up on this side of the border this summer.
Will do. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks for your time. That's Janet Mills of the great state of Maine. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.